And
Finally,
it looks like finally we
as
are
alive as
live
they're going to be.
and in living color.
We're alive somewhere between the fifth and sixth hole.
Yeah, a crazed another crazed morning in America. Very good morning to you. It's Michael Knight in New York, Vinnie, Mikey and Vinnie, as we are known to our friends. And boy, oh boy, uh, they're getting now. Another assassination attempt on the president, the ex-president.
It was an attempt as an attempt of an attempt.
Well, I'd say if you're lying,
Are we gonna give him a
oh,
full
I
attempt
should
on this?
attempt.
Is that a full attempt? Do you think, with no shots fired on
I'm
his
going
behalf?
with full attempt, Mikey. If you're lying in the weeds and you're I don't know 400 or 500 yards away, and you're down there in a position with a high-powered assault rifle, and you got a couple of things of bulletproof ceramic tiles hanging from the fence, and a GoPro, because this is, of course, something you're going to want to put on social media. You know, you're not going to want to miss this.
You don't want to waste
Uh,
the opportunity. Why
right,
squander or something like that?
right. You don't want to squander this opportunity, so you're all set. So I would give it, as far as an assassination attempt, I would give it an A. I would give it everything set up and ready to go. Um, and that is, I mean, when's the last time we had this two of these happen this close together, if ever?
Never, never,
I mean, I remember
never, never, never.
Ford had two, but they were like a year apart, weren't they? Squeaky Fromm and Periwinkle, wasn't her name?
But we've only got 50 days left in the contest, so we have to shorten the time between our assassination attempts
Yeah,
or attempts at attempts.
yeah. I guess I guess that being as we have a shorter election cycle this year.
And a
I mean,
note to the
listen,
next note to the next assassin, Vinny. If you want to give anybody advice, is don't stick your AK-47 nose through the fence until you're ready to shoot. He was a bit premature. He just couldn't help looking through the scope.
well, this guy certainly seems like a whack job, man. I mean, not for nothing, but this guy. I mean, you talk about, I mean, we don't know about the kid. He seemed like a whack job too. As a matter of fact, really, if you think about it, you got to be a whack job to do something like this, right? Normal people, you don't. Normal people don't get on the train at 8 o'clock in the morning on 74th Street Station, and they're sitting there, and they got in one hand they got the New York Times folded up, and they're reading it, and the other hand they got an AK-47. They say, "Geez, I think I'll stop off at Trump Tower this afternoon and take a pot shot at the president." Normal
It,
people don't do that kind of thing. You got to be a
normal
freaking whack.
normal people don't read the Post in the morning either, but it happens.
Now, did I say the Post? I meant the Times, actually,
Well,
but whichever one.
you said the Times, but that's harder to read on the subway because it's wider by a column. You know, if you got the smaller papers, they're easier to read with their tabloids.
Right, but if you were good, you could fold that. I mean, you could fold that Times up, quarter
Well,
it,
there are New
and
York Times folders. New York Times folders are very precise. They fold
yes,
right on the
New
column.
York Times folders and Wall Street Journal folders used to be the best because they could get that thing in four quarters, and they could
Yep.
go boom, read it, boom, flip it around, boom, flip it around again, and boom, flip it around again. So they
If you
were
didn't know how to do it, watch a folder and he'll show you how to do it. And
just
you'll
watch
be
a
able.
folder and they'll give you the instructions. So here we are again, another morning where we're talking about an attempt on the life of the ex-president of the United States. And I you just kind of throw up your hands and you go, what the hell? What is the world? What is it all uh, coming to when you
Well,
have people?
how many chances do you think you get when you're on the attempted assassination list? How many times can they shoot right by your ear or not at all on the golf course?
Well, how many
Uh,
times did McKinley? Didn't they try to shoot McKinley a couple of times, or Chester Arthur or one of those guys.
I think it
Now that
was
was now Teddy Roosevelt was a badass.
Teddy Roosevelt got shot and made his speech anyway.
Got shot, made a speech, and then went to the hospital.
He had
Stopped at
something.
the bar for a cocktail on the way.
The man wanted the votes. I can turn these people into voters. That's what he thought. But in terms of sports, in terms of chances, in terms of gambling, in terms of wagering, just in terms of the odds on everything, how many do you get? How many close calls do you get before you get the message? If Trump keeps making himself available in this regard, in other words, being outdoors where he doesn't have to be, where it's unnecessary, you could have the event inside in Pennsylvania, but he had it outside. He didn't have to play golf, but he did. Consequently, he bears a responsibility in making himself available for the first two shots, and he has to be cautious now because in 50 days the race will be over and he can play golf and no one will care. But while he's a candidate, I suggest he err on the side of caution.
Yeah, see, I see it a little differently, Michael. I see it that he should be able to. I mean, I'd like to never see him come out of his house again. I'd like to see him go home and lock the door and never come out. But that's blaming him for it.
Well,
That's victim blaming.
I think
And
he's partially responsible for putting himself in a situation where the Secret Service is responsible for an unreasonable level of security, which can't be guaranteed. It can't be offered. Oh yeah, we'll give you the presidential security. No one will get you on the golf course then, and that's just unrealistic.
well, I think, Michael. I mean, it's a very complex thing because we, I believe, that that the actions you take in your life beget that you give out, you get back. If you give out actions that are violent and that cause people pain and cause people heartache, many times you get those actions back in one form or another. It doesn't have to be um, in violence, but in some way, it comes back to you.
So
It's
this is the harvest of Trump and Vance and their lies and their rhetoric
And when you create situations where you injure people, either physically or mentally,
on purpose, without need,
on
without
purpose,
need.
show no remorse for it, and as a
Double
matter of
down
fact, go on a news show and say, this is how we're going to do business. We're going to make up phony stories
and stick with them.
and stick with them and cause panic and cause people like the Proud Boys to show up in Ohio, Springfield, Ohio, with their clubs and their bats and their this and their that.
Did they bring their dogs?
And no, they left the dogs home. I saw the picture. I looked to see if they brought their dogs. Look, this story is as old as the hills itself. How many times when we were kids did we hear the stories about the cats and the Chinese restaurant? Or the
Pick one from
cats at
column
the
A. Pick one
Spanish
from column
restaurant.
A. One from column A. One from column B.
It's a tale that's gone on since we were little kids, and nobody ever believed it. Oh, I wouldn't say that. I had an uncle that wouldn't eat in a Chinese restaurant. He wouldn't go near a Chinese restaurant.
But would he eat goulash? God knows what's in that.
He'd eat all sorts of stuff, but boy, he wouldn't go near a Chinese restaurant. And but he was Uncle Idiot.
More chicken fried rice for me. That's all.
Yeah. Um. So I find it, I find it so.
It's very retro, isn't it? It's a
Yeah,
retro idea.
yeah. I mean, they're not even coming up with new stuff. They're going back to the hits of the '50s because that's when you heard this stuff. You heard this stuff in the hits of the '50s. Oh, the guys at the people at Canton Garden, boy, which was one of our local Chinese restaurants. The people at Sun Sun. Oh yeah, you know that they are. You don't see as many cats in the neighborhood. By the way, not for nothing, but you heard that also in the Greek neighborhood. You heard it also in
It
the
applied to it applied to whatever neighborhood you were addressing, whatever
whatever
problem was
whatever
bothering you.
ethnic group that you felt a need to put down. They were skinning cats or stealing ducks from the pond or whatever. It was a way to it was a way to make yourself feel better
And
than
this and
them.
this came originally from Lisa Lupner or whatever her name is.
Oh, Laura Loomer, yeah. And there's so many things
I
wrong
guess
with this, Michael.
Lisa Lupner was on Saturday Night Live, right?
Yes, Lisa Lupner was hi Todd. Um, Now, just an aside, not that one thing has anything to do with another thing, but do you think that he's banging Laura Loomer?
Oh yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
Bill Maher had a thing on about a year ago. So he said, who's banging Donald Trump? Somebody's got to be doing this guy.
But
So I think Laura Loomer may be this week's candidate.
she keeps him optimistic. We're gonna
His
win this
wife
thing.
isn't doing him. His wife won't even get on the same plane with him.
It ain't wise. That's not the way to travel. That ain't the way to have fun, son. That ain't no way to have fun.
Ain't the way to have fun. His daughters won't get on the same plane with him.
Even Uday and Kusei don't travel with him anymore. They got nothing to say. They got no place to be.
Uday and Kusei is staying as far away because they don't want to get in the way of it's really it's it's sad because he's more surrounded by sycophants now than he's ever been.
You go stand to him. Go ahead. Go ahead. You stand next to him.
So all of a sudden, Laura Loomer shows up on the plane and is feeding them policy
Doesn't take long.
and is feeding them lies. Now, did you see the J.D. Vance interview with uh,
Dana Bash.
Dana Bash?
Yes.
I mean, how in the world, if you're a candidate for high office in this United States of America, how do you stand up with somebody and say, well, we're going to create our own stories?
Well, he had to go to it one more time because the shooting was only a couple hours away, and it was going to change the news cycle. So this was the last time that we were going to have a chance to influence America's voters with a lie.
But it's almost like that's what they figure. That
Yeah.
people will forget about these things after a news cycle. That goes one news cycle and nobody remembers anymore.
And nobody cares that the people and the mayor and the governor of Ohio are all saying there's nothing going on here. Nothing's happening in our town. Please stop these stories.
Yeah, I mean, they
Ain't gonna
talked to
do
the
it.
mayor, they talked to the county executive, they talked to some very nice lady who worked at City Hall, and she said, you know what we need. If you want to send something, what we need here is we need a couple of $1 million to help settle these people in. They're hardworking people and taking jobs that nobody else wants to do. They're all working. We're not having any problems from them. There's been one incident in the town since the Haitians were, by the way, legally
Oh yeah,
emigrated
legally.
to the town.
They're legal as can
Legally,
be. Yep, right.
not like Slapdick Jr. there says, with illegally, the vice presidential candidate,
JD. JD.
JD. And this is his own state.
He knows it's nonsense. But they're hurting, Vinny. I mean, their internal polling is showing that they haven't led for weeks now. They're supposed to turn this thing around, and they haven't done it.
Well, I don't know I don't know what effect this is going to have. I mean, it gave him, I guess, a little bit of a bump the last time. Not much, not as much as many people expected that it would.
They don't care. It gives them a bump if they can raise some money.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if that Trump knows that it's over, and they're just going to try to do as much stupid crap as they can
Put some money in the bank for
to
later.
try to raise as much money as they can, so that they all walk away with a nice bag of cash, and
Not
then they can
all
go
of them.
back to selling. What's his thing this week? NFTs.
And also bionic money, whatever it's called.
Yeah, I can't even follow it. I got no idea. I think they're NFTs.
In fact, his event today is not about the politics. It's about raising money for this uh, Bitcoin scheme. He's a Bitcoiner. Trump coin. Buy some Trump coin.
Yeah, I mean, could you as as crappy as Richard Nixon was,
He didn't sell $20.
as shitty as Richard Nixon was, and this was a guy who wanted to dress the White House guard up in Scottish uniforms. I never heard him talking about selling Bitcoin
No.
or presidential coins
Or
or
Nixon
whatever the hell they were
University.
selling.
Nixon
Did you?
Steaks and Nixon University.
Yeah, Nixon Steaks, Nixon University, or his wife out humping a book while he was on the presidential trail.
What
You know,
what's a
if,
Bitcoin? What's a Trump Bitcoin cost? What's it cost to get into that
you know
game?
what? I got no idea, and I don't want to go on the website to find out. I really I don't want to go on the website to find out how much it is. I don't want to, I don't want my browser
Infected with Trump
to
coin.
indicate that I ever want to look at a Trump website. And
Well,
then,
he's come to the conclusion that it's not his fault. It was Biden's fault. Biden and Harris are the reason that he's getting shot at
well, and then the other dip, the other
because of because of their
dip,
steamy rhetoric.
the other dipple, the other craphead, the other Elon Musk tweets out, when's somebody going to take a shot at Harris and Walls?
Now that kind of talk gets you a visit from the Secret Service if we had enough guys to go around. They come to your door and ascertain how serious you are about that. Of course, where is Elon Musk? Is he in Texas yet, or is he still in California?
I don't know where he is.
Or
See,
he's
here's
just
a
moving.
guy.
He's moving X. He doesn't want to move himself.
Here's a guy who I
I
start
like
to,
the weather better.
yeah, I'm starting to think that he is more of a danger than Trump is.
Well,
I'm starting,
he can't muster the crowds.
but he can. He's got a lot of these
Well,
nuts.
online he can, yes.
Yeah, well, that's what counts these days, right? But for him to tweet something like that, I mean, it's just so irresponsible. The whole thing is just. Have we lost all of our class in this country?
You know, there's a new level of class. It's not what you would call class C, just a level of class.
Have we lost? Have we lost dignity? Have we lost class, Michael? Have we lost the thing that used to make this country great, or has it always been this way and we
And
just didn't see it?
it was leaning in this direction, but people hadn't lost full self respect. Now, self respect is not a part of the game. You can debase yourself in any way whatsoever, and if you can just say, I'm doing it in support of Trump. I know I look ridiculous in this sweatshirt, but I'm doing it for Donald Trump. I'm supporting him. I'm a big fan.
I know I can put a shirt on that says "You can grab my pussy, Mr. President,"
You got my
and
vote.
that's
Yeah.
okay. Is that where we're at now, Michael? Is that where society sits? And if so, what do we do about it? I mean, is there anything that can be done about it?
Well, there's a generation of Trump heads that are just going to have to die off.
It means we're not going to be able to do much about it.
No, it'll be part of our lives for some time. I just wonder what job will Trump have when he loses this election? He can't just be the guy who's going to run again. He can't. Well, I guess he can run again.
He can run until the cows come home.
The
They
cows
can
actually.
do, who was the guy that ran all the time? Hyman Rickover?
And the guy
Or
from
was it
Pennsylvania.
Harold Stassen?
That's it. That's Harold had the record. He ran every year for forever.
Yeah, Harold Stassen. He
As
ran
long as
every
he was
year
alive.
from 1946 until I don't know, until he died.
He ran against Kennedy. He was always a factor.
He was he not from Minnesota, Harold Stassen?
I thought Pennsylvania. I could be wrong.
You know, Pennsylvania seems like a place he would be from. I would admit that would be
Be a good state for Harold. If you're not from there, you can move there. Try and be their senator.
He was a national political. Kind of looks like Eisenhower. He was the 25th governor of Minnesota.
Huh, you were right, Vinnie. Good for you.
Was born near South St. Paul, Minnesota on April 13th, 1907.
Now you know who the governor of Minnesota is?
Some guy named Waltz, isn't he?
A guy named Walls, exactly.
Let's see. But he also had something to do with Pennsylvania too. Between 1938
He drove through.
and 1992, he ran for Minnesota gubernatorial, Then he Republican primary for governor of Pennsylvania. Governor of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia mayoral election. Went back to Minnesota for the Republican primary for the United States Senate for Minnesota.
So he represented two states, Minnesota or Pennsylvania, depending on how the weather was blowing.
Right. He came in.
The gentleman from Minnesota or Pennsylvania.
Or Pennsylvania, wherever you'd like to. Maybe I ought to try that. You know, I could go Pittsburgh.
You did that.
Seattle, Pittsburgh. That could be quite interesting.
Do the morning show in Pittsburgh and then the midday show in Seattle.
Well, you know, nowadays you can do that. In 1964, he came in right behind Unpledged.
Unpledged had a good year that year. Unpledged was a hot candidate.
And behind Richard Nixon and another name from the past that we've forgotten. But yet, Margaret Chase Smith.
She was the outfielder. She lost her job to Roberto Clemente, right? She was the right fielder for the Pirates.
Yeah. Yes. And in 68, he ran again. He got 31,000 votes, 0.71%.
All I can tell you about your campaign this year is go ahead.
84, he got 12,000 votes in the presidential primaries. 88, 2682. And then he went out with a bang in 1992 in the Republican presidential primary that was won by the incumbent George H.W. Bush. Pat Buchanan placed second, unpledged placed third,
Stassen plays fourth.
David Duke got 119,115. Ross Perot got 56,136.
And that was after he dropped out of the race.
Pat Paulson
Oh, God.
got
He couldn't beat
10,000.
Pat Paulson? He lost to Pat Paulson?
Got 10,934. Maurice Horton, I don't know who he is, 9637, and Harold Stassen in a last
Last stab at it.
8,099 votes, or 0.06 of the Republican presidential
See,
voters.
he had a base too. His base was not as large as some candidates, but he had a base.
He had a base.
About 8,000 people were going to vote for Harold Stassen no matter what. No matter what Pat Paulson said about him. What was Pat Paulson doing as a Republican? That seems unusual.
Those are probably the crossover primaries, I would think.
Pat Paulson was a great orator.
Pat Paulson was great. Yeah, he really was, man.
From Santa Rosa, California.
Yeah. I believe the Pat Paulson Winery still exists, doesn't it?
I hope so. It should.
He made some great wine up there and some fun comedy, and was always around. Very accessible guy. When I used to
You can drink Pat Paulson wine when you eat your Harold Stassen steak.
when I used to go up to Catati and Santa Rosa and places up there, Sebastopol, he was always around. Always a guy you could run
Press
into.
the flesh, shake the hands. He's always running for Congress, always running for president.
No, he was just always hanging out. He liked hanging out. I guess he didn't like hanging out. I guess he didn't like staying home. Very dry guy. Very dry humor.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
nice guy, but very dry. Pat Paulson. Boy. Anyway, so what does this do for Trump?
There won't be a bounce. He's going to alienate his Secret Service detail. He's going to insist on doing more outdoor events. He's going to insist on playing golf. He's going to put all the pressure on them. And three's the charm. Don't tempt fate 3 times. Cats have 9 lives. Candidates don't.
When I heard the news, I guess I heard it early this morning. The thought that immediately came to my mind was Salazzo in The Godfather, where he's got Tom Hagen, sitting in the warehouse.
Right.
He's just, I hit him with 5 bullets and they couldn't kill him. You can't kill him.
Bad luck for me.
Bad luck for me and bad luck for you if Sonny doesn't take that deal.
Yeah. Sonny took it after a fashion.
Well, Sonny took it, but it wasn't the deal.
No. It was a deal.
You realize, Michael, that if Easy Pass had come along 30 years early,
He'd have gone right through there. He'd have been in Manhattan in no time.
Sonny had been the Godfather. Oh, man.
That's the difference between business and personal.
Poor Sonny, he's looking down from wherever he is going, look at this Easy Pass now. You go over to Verrazano.
The Easy Pass over here.
Oh, my God. How did you enjoy the first Well, I was going to ask you about the Giants, but I shouldn't ask you about that, huh?
They stink. We can't beat San Diego to save our life.
They have an official E next to them now, Michael.
Well, we've had it for so while. By the way, we're 5 games under 500, so the idea of finishing the season as a 500 team is out of reach.
Well, but to be fair, sometimes once teams, all the pressure of winning is off, they they come together, they crank it up.
Some teams, perhaps. I'm sure it's happened in history. It's not going to happen with the Giants. And the 49ers played like the Giants on Sunday. I don't know if you kept track of that game.
No, I didn't. What was I watch? Oh, I watched the Seahawks on Sunday.
How'd they do?
They won. They won. They were
49ers were a comedy of errors. Interceptions, flubs, blocked punts, everything you can think of. The whole
yeah.
ball of wax.
It took them overtime to do it, but they won. And
Just win, baby.
so far, um, they're 2-0, only undefeated team in the NFC. Um, Geno Smith looks to be one of the most improved quarterbacks.
Is he comfortable?
Well, he looks a lot more comfortable than he used to. He isn't making the bad throw.
The unconsidered commitment to throwing it to the other team.
Yeah, yeah. But their defense is good, and I know going into New England is not the same as it used to be.
It's tougher than it was last year.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's just not the same without Belichick
The threat's not there.
and Brady. I mean,
Yeah.
and all of those guys that you used to love to hate. It's like going into Yankee Stadium in 1966 instead of
Everybody
playing
did.
Mickey. Instead of playing Maris and Cleve Boyer and Bobby Richardson, you're playing. Mantle is still there, but he's hurt. You're playing Horace Clark and Joe Pepitone and who the hell is that guy? And
These
Phil
guys,
Linds.
these guys look like the Tigers out there. Who are they? That's the Yankees. Nah, never.
No, that's not the Yankees out there. That don't looking like the Yankees. So but it had that same feeling to it. I mean, they got some okay players, obviously, and I think the Seahawks are still going to need some work.
Hey, but
But
2-0 is better than what's going on with Baltimore.
it was it was nice to see him go on the road and get a win. Um, it was nice to see them pull off a victory in overtime. It was nice to see him march down the field, and it was nice to see Tyler Lockett, who is catching fire as he seems to have picked up. Matter of fact, I think I would say he's improved. Michael McDonald, I think, Mike McDonald. He doesn't want to be called Michael McDonald because then he'll be confused for the singer. Um,
Well, a fool believes.
Not the best voice in rock and roll, but certainly maybe one of the best backup voices
Certainly very distinctive.
in rock and roll.
You wouldn't miss him. You wouldn't confuse him with anybody else.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Not the best singer in rock and roll, but put him with anybody. Um,
Had quite a few hits, no matter where he stopped.
yeah, no matter what he did, either solo or a duet or with Steely Dan,
Right.
with the Doobie Brothers, or on his own, no matter what he did, he brought it. So yeah, so they played D yesterday, and and did well. I was very impressed. So they go 2-0. Uh,
49ers had their chances, but they punted or bumbled or blocked or threw it away every time. For the entire game, they just messed it up.
and
And I'm sick of
yeah,
guys saying afterwards, that's on me. The whole thing's my fault. It's on me. Yeah, and that makes me feel better. How? I know it was on you. I saw the game. I saw what you did. You don't have to say it's on you. We all know it was you.
it's on me.
We were watching the game. We know who it was on.
It's on me. So now you have the Jets with a 1-1 record, and what's his name, Aaron Rodgers, having a decent game, first decent game he's had for them. Um, 49ers not looking sharp, and that's the sad thing in football, Michael, is there's no it's early.
No, no,
You can get away in baseball with it's early,
not in football.
not in football. Not
And
in
there's
football.
one thing to look, not looking sharp, but to look befuddled, to look unprepared, to look inept. That doesn't go very far in football. That doesn't inspire the sports writers on Monday morning.
No, not at all. So Thursday we'll have to. Thursday we'll see the Jets. Now the big story over the weekend. I don't know. I'm sure you saw it. Uh, but the young man from Miami who is has a pretty
Tua,
large decision to make.
Tua,
To to Alova.
and he said he's not retiring no matter what.
Not to Alova. That's Alova is the guy on Law and Order SUV. Tagliavaloa. Tua. Um,
He keeps hitting that head.
yeah, it's he keeps hitting that head, and I don't know. You
They haven't got a suitable backup.
shouldn't even be a consideration.
Well, until he passes protocol, he's not going to play again anyway.
Yeah, the only thing that should be a consideration here is if this kid gets another pop in the head.
If he wants to be able to spell his name when he's 40.
Right. Again, and this is not the first time we've seen him go down. We've seen this.
This is his third big one.
This is a show that we've seen 3 times, 4 times.
He's got to know the damage may be irreversible already.
And I think that I love it. The coach, Mike McDaniel, who does not look like an NFL head coach, by the way, just
He's a good coach, but you're right.
good coach, but he doesn't look like one, does he?
No, he didn't play
No,
football.
no. Um, just before the quarterback reached the sideline, Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel, not to be confused
With Mike McDonald.
with Mike McDonald or
Or
Michael
anybody
McDonald.
or anybody in Steely Dan or the Doobie Brothers.
Exactly. I had a brief word with his player. I told him he's the starting quarterback of his family. and to go in the locker room, take a deep breath, and I'll see you soon. With that, McDaniel kissed Tag on the head, then turned him over to the trainers, who ushered him to the locker room for evaluation.
I wonder how much of that he remembers.
Well, that'll kind of be what you.
Well, who would give him the advice that he should play on? Who in the medical or football or the NFL or the players union would say you should play more football? That would be the best way to deal with this.
Well, probably not the same doctors who told him he could go back to work in 2022.
Maybe the vice president of revenue for FanDuel would say, "Get in there."
Right. As a matter of fact, the last time they sent him back, I don't know if you remember, it was in September, I believe.
Try to
He got
remember.
another concussion right after he came back from the other concussion
Yeah, that's why
because they
he's
sent him
got
back too early. I
this
think
man
if
is
I'm
30.
if I'm his people, I am calling Dr. Maroon from Pittsburgh. I'm calling. I forget the guy's name up in Boston, and I'm saying we'll be on the first jet
What are my chances?
up to your hospital, up to your office this morning,
Scan me and tell me.
and tell me what's going on. As a matter of fact, I may even go to both.
Well, Andrew Luck would tell him what to do.
Yeah. But I think at this point, that's what you got to do. No matter how, you don't want to be a. God forbid, you don't want to be another Junior Seau, man.
The game calls. The game calls you. Play football. Play the game. Get ready for the game. Be ready for the game. Do well in the game. Win the game.
Will Will people think that he's less? I mean, because we've heard this before. I mean, people who watch sports have no mercy.
And they'll forget him when he's done. What happened to Tua? Oh, he lost his mind. That's sad. We got another guy now.
Well, not just that, Michael, but there will be a ton of people who will say, "Ah, he's soft. Ah, he's a pussy. Ah, he can't play the game. He's not tough enough." And
There
you know
will.
that there will be a ton of those.
On sports radio. Donnie from Queens.
Yeah, it'll probably be Don. It probably will be Donnie from Queens. But there'll be a ton of people who will say he's not tough enough. Well, in 69 years of walking around the earth, I've learned one thing, and that is, well, I've learned more than one thing, but I've certainly learned.
One thing comes to mind.
One thing comes to mind at the moment. I've learned a few things. That it takes a lot of toughness to walk away from something too.
Yeah. A siren call.
Yeah, it's easy to just go back there and boom, and risk everything. And there are certainly those people who will say, well, he could put his family in his position. He got money. It ain't about money. Well, he'll have a few million less. Maybe he'll have to move into a smaller house in the neighborhood. Maybe he'll have to go out and sell Dan Marino key lime pies at the Italian Pizza Kitchen.
I'll take one.
But he'll be able to count out when you tell him you want 11 pies. He'll be able to get to 11.
Which is an elusive number for some people.
Which for many people who play football is a number that definitely they don't get up to a lot.
It's somewhere after 7, and I forget where. It's there.
Or is
It's
he
not
going
before
to,
7, it's after 7, but I can't remember where.
yeah, or is he going to be somebody who goes into you know, a rage uncontrollably, or Even worse, gets a gun, and not only hurts himself but hurts his family.
The
Now,
game is
again, these are
unkind.
extreme cases, but
You,
these are cases that have happened,
you can't tell who's going to be the most vulnerable. There's no way to know. It just happens.
and there's no way to know. Julius Seau seemed like the nicest guy in the world.
He flipped out and took a lot of people with him.
Julius Seau seemed like one of those people you'd want to go have a drink with
Don't mix booze with Junior.
until one day he wasn't. And they opened, and luckily he left his brain, and they found out what he had on his brain that doesn't do anything. I mean, you can't tell
Till you take a look.
till you open it up and take a look. And as far as I've known, there's nobody that they've opened up the brain and taken a look and then put it back together and said, "All right, go home."
Well, they probably can do a scan to give themselves a pretty good idea of what the condition is and what the prognosis might be.
Well, I pray for this kid. I hope that he seems from all accounts. I mean, I don't know him, but
I wonder if he hit his head in high school in Hawaii or when he played for the Crimson Tide,
I don't know.
which would mean he's working on his fourth or fifth concussion.
Tony Gonzalez said right after the game that he should retire, among a lot of people. But as has been written, and it is hard to tell. I forget who I was listening to yesterday. If you break an arm, you break a leg,
They
pull a
fix
back
it.
muscle out, do something physical to yourself.
A high ankle sprain.
You can walk away. You can say, well, I can't physically perform anymore. But when you have something wrong with your brain, when you have your brain is in a situation where it can be damaged, everything feels all right. You know that you can go out there and perform
Physically.
as good as anybody on that field.
If you can just
And it's
remember the
torture.
plays. Yeah.
It's torture because you know that you can be out there. You know it, and that's what you live for. You spend your whole life
Achieving that.
training for that, and then all of a sudden, in a thing like this, it's taken away from you.
He wasn't hurt in the tackle so much. He went back and hit his head, back of his head. And every one of his concussions, that's the way it happened. He hit
Yeah,
the ground and hit his head.
I mean, I'll never tell. Far be it from me to tell somebody what to do, but I got to tell you, Michael. Um, if I'm a young man at his age and I got some bank, and they tell me, you know what, you can't go out there anymore and do it.
Time to sleep late and have a nice breakfast.
Exactly. I take my money. I take my family. I
Or as they say in Florida, time to get into your black Nissan and drive north on I-95.
I go find something else to do. I go find out what's the next thing I am good at.
Good theory, Vinny.
I can't play football. So what's the next best thing that I can do? Can I coach? Can I coach a bunch of high school kids? What can I do with my life that'll give me nothing will give me that satisfaction?
And who was the kid from Utah that was the quarterback for the Chicago Bears during their big years with Ditka?
McMahon, right?
Yeah, he was being led around the house by his wife. He had no idea where he was.
Yeah.
He couldn't dress himself, and he didn't suffer noticeably from concussions that we knew of. It was just
No.
something that developed and spiraled after his career.
Jim McMahon. And yeah, I just go find the next best thing. There's always something else out there.
Plenty of room for broadcasters. Brady's not a very good one. He's not going to last doing that.
Who isn't?
Tom Brady.
Yeah, I haven't for some reason I haven't really caught up with Tom Brady yet. I gotta listen to that. But he certainly doesn't sound
Doesn't sound
like
like an authority.
Tony Romo.
No, Romo's pretty good.
Yeah, Romo took the bull by the horns and ran with it.
And they wanted him to come back and play. Nah, ain't gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
Not for the kind of money I'm making here.
No, I get to wear a blue blazer. Nobody hits me in the head.
I get to
Nobody
stand
kicks me
up
when I'm
here. I get
down.
grapes during the game.
And after when it's all over, I don't have to say it's on me. It was all
Yeah,
on me.
I don't have to utter those words. It's on me.
And I don't have to worry about my paycheck because it comes from Jerry Jones. If Jerry Jones has to
Oh,
sign your check, you wanna wait for that check because you're gonna have to.
yeah, pretty amazing stuff. All right, what do we got coming up this week? Anything interesting?
The third attempt on Trump should be in the books by Thursday.
Oh God, I hope not. Please, as much as I don't like the guy, as much as I don't like him, I that's
Well,
not.
Christian and I have both talked about it, but we were both thinking the same thing. We didn't want him to be killed in the line of action, but he's asking for it. He's putting himself in a position where he is the target for
No,
every
you know what,
madman in the
Michael?
world.
He's got something else coming. After what is it? November 5th is your
He's
November
got a
5th is election day, right? Well,
got a couple
November 6th,
got a couple court cases to see to.
he's got 34 felonies he's got to go see somebody about. And I know that being being in jail is going to be a lot worse for him than getting killed.
I think of the poor guys who found that AK-47 sticking out of a bush. Gonna have to go to Rikers with him.
Mikey, Mikey, Mikey. All right. All right. I'm going to put it in
We got
books.
Monday night football. I have no idea who's playing. It was that kind of weekend.
Oh, why don't I know? I had it put up here and scores and schedules. I know I had up here for a second. It was
It'll be two teams I don't care about, or two teams I dearly want to see play.
two teams you don't care about. It'll be the Falcons and the Eagles.
Two Boyds. The Boyds are chirping.
Yeah, I could care less. Doesn't bother
Yeah.
me. I'm excited. I'm pushing for Dan Wilson, man. They're 3 games out, and the only thing that means to me is they should have fired Service 3 games earlier.
True that. All right, go Mariners. Remember,
And go Mets, baby.
winning is not everything, but losing is nothing. So says Leo DeRocher.
And so says Vinnie. I'll see you on Wednesday if the Lord's willing the creek don't rise.
Creek's not gonna rise. I'll see you on I-95 going north. I'll be in the black Nissan.
No, Michael. No, 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 no. Peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine. See you,
Thank
Vinny.
you all for listening. We'll see you on Wednesday morning at 10:10.